before I knew what ASMR was. But I also love, or I have stirred up my love for reading and books. Do you remember the Scholastic Book Fair? I would make sure that I would ask my mom for a few extra dollars for the Scholastic Book Fair. And my friends would always buy things like they would also have like little toys too. They would buy cute toys. I would buy bookmarks and books. And somewhere along the line, I started a career, and my career was in healthcare technology, and I began reading like medical journals, and I lost my love of reading books for pleasure. And that's so unfortunate. But I am so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be back exploring that love again. And I am absolutely enjoying figuring out my new likes and dislikes. Of course, as a child, your life revolves around school. But I'm finding that I don't like reading about anyone being at school anymore. At any rate, what this video is about is sharing with you my June wrap-up. I actually recorded this video already, but I was so nervous. And so it is sitting there. I will save it. I'm going to unschedule it from YouTube and then schedule this one in its place, because I just was way too nervous. Way too nervous. I mean, I'm still nervous now. I'm in front of a camera. But I was way too nervous, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I'm back and recording it, but maybe in some far away future I might post that truly very first ASMR video that has all of the nervous energy in it, because it is a little bit entertaining. But here are my June reads that I absolutely adore. There are 5 books that I read in the month of June. And I do a mixture of physical books, audio books, and books that I read on my tablet, either from a Kindle Unlimited, Hoopla, or Libby in Hoopla are the things that you can, the apps that you can utilize if you have a membership to your local library. If you have a membership to your local library, then you can actually just put in your membership number and have access to the catalog that they have. The first book that I would like to share with you that I read in the month of June reason why I picked this up is because this is the same author who wrote The Last Unicorn, which was a love of mine from an early age. Ironically, I have not read that book yet, but I watched the movie, and it was an all-star cast, and great, beautiful animation. At the time, I don't think that my parents knew that cartoons could be for adults as well, and they were shocked. I tell you, they were shocked that there were moments where the characters said swear words. But they couldn't deny that it was a wonderful, 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 wonderful story. And so beautiful and whimsical. And that is why I picked up the Innkeeper's Song. The story is actually shared through multiple POVs, and it's shared chronologically in order by various characters and a few side characters in the book. The main characters, I feel, are, although there are 3 women on the front of the book, and the cutest fox, I believe that the main characters really are these 2 women in the book. Although this woman in the book definitely has an integral part in the story. And the fox is not what it seems either, of course. I do feel like this is a cozy read, for sure. I feel like it's a cozy read. These are not high-stakes, world-saving, type of a story. It's not that type of a story. But it is about these 2 characters trying to save their person. And so the stakes are high for them. But it's not, the world needs to be saved. Okay, so I think, if you're looking for a cozy fantasy, this will do it. This will do it. It is a shorter novel of 370 pages, and the book's form factor is also smaller than a lot of the other books I have. So basically, you can get through this one pretty fast. Sometimes you just need a book that you can get through quickly. I think you can get through this one pretty quickly. The story takes place mostly at the inn. The same inn where the Innkeeper's song is talking about. And the book actually has the Innkeeper song at the beginning, but of course, you don't know what any of it means until after As far as spice, there's no spice in this book, but there is a very odd sexual encounter that includes 4 individuals, but it's not spicy. It's the scene is almost described very lyrically. It's almost like a dream state of writing. I had to read the scene 3 times because I did not know what was going on. I could not tell that it was a sexual encounter. I could not tell that it was a sexual encounter at all. But it was very interesting. The dream state of it was extremely interesting. And it made you pay attention to the characters in a totally different way afterward. If you've ever seen Alfred Hitchcock's movie The Birds, you notice that there is maybe a cockatoo. There's this white parrot that caws across the screen, and it sort of wakes you up. It resets your attention in the book. This scene almost kind of does that in a very mild way, because you begin to pay attention in a totally different way after that. But the women need this woman for a magical purpose, to save their person. And this fox helps as well. There also is a person who loves this person, but because of the state of what this person has become, she does not recognize him any longer. And so you have other characters that are following these characters for very different reasons. All while they are trying to save their person. And there are people hunting these women as well for reasons. A very lovely read, very lovely read, very lovely read. I rated the Innkeeper song 3.5 stars. I liked it, and I believe that I would read it again. It's a very cozy type of read, low stakes. The Innkeeper song. The next book that I read was Mayhem and the Mortal. Mayhem and the Mortal by Shanora Williams. It was a very, very nice story of a young lady who discovers through her magic necklace given to her by her mother that her sister is in danger. It starts out jumping you right into that on the first page, which I liked. And this young lady, besides having that magical necklace, she doesn't have any magical powers. She is a human in a world that has bestials integrated into the society. is a stereotype. If you stereotypically think about what a romantasy is, this safely fits into that category, I think. So as a debut, it was a very safe story option, I think, for her. I think what differentiates her work from maybe other people's debut, like very first novel, which it was not for her, just her first in this genre, is that she is very good at developing characters. And so for all of the characters that join us, which the main character in Mayhem in the Moral is Sarah, or Sari, or Sayer, I think is how you might say it, I'm not sure, of course. And she knows that her sister is in trouble, and after doing a lot of research, realizes that the only way to save her from this curse that basically her evil employer has put on her, but the evil employer is a very bad guy, is to go to a foreign land, a land far away from where she has ever been, and she must get an object in order to reverse this curse on her sister. And she knows that she can't go alone. And it just so happens that a tall, brown-skinned man wearing all black from head to toe, decked out with weapons and a mask, is in her local bar where she's doing all of her studying. She is a bold character, I will say that, but she's bold mostly due to her naivete. So she's a young, naive woman who is desperately looking for a way to save her sister, and this magic-wielding man wearing all black, who everyone else in the town is running from when they see him. She hires him as a mercenary, and she has to give up something that's very precious to her in order to afford him. He reluctantly accepts her offer, but everything isn't as it seems, because he wants something from that place too. Along the way, they encounter all kinds of different people, and some people join their party. And it does give you that found family feeling, because although everybody who is in the party is in their party for very different reasons, none of them want to see anyone else hurt. They're all good individuals. Some are human, some are not human. But they're joining together to reach a common location for different purposes. There's also an introduction of a love triangle. And again, this one isn't we need to save the world. This one is I need to save my person or get this thing for this reason from this place. So it's lower stakes than saving the world, but they do encounter things that in situations that are high stakes. So keep that in mind. I wouldn't necessarily call this a cozy read. No. But it is interesting and a nice story to read through. And because I had already read another work of Shanora Williams, who mostly writes thrillers or psychological thrillers and romance, and I knew how well she could develop characters, I was very interested in seeing what she did with this new genre. I gave Mayhem in the Portal 3.75 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was Lore of the Wilds. Lore of the Wilds. And it is by Analeigh Sbrana. Analeigh Sbrana. And it is about a young lady named Lore. Now, Lore of the Wilds takes place in a land that has humans and fae. The humans are human with no powers, and the fae have all of the magic. In this world, the fae actually are very dominant over the humans. The place that Lore is from, they are heavily taxed by the fae, and one day, and they're mistreated by the fae. Some are just, the fae will come through and kill, some humans for no reason, or just frivolously accidentally kill them because they're so much stronger than the humans. They can just accidentally take their lives. But one day, and it does open pretty cozy, Lore works in an apothecary, and she mends her own clothes, that sort of thing. And one day while she's working in the apothecary, two fae show up, a male and a female fae, and they are asking for the shop owner. And it's because they heard that that shop owner knows how to read different languages. Well, number one, that she knows how to read, but that she also knows how to read different languages. Well, so does Lore. Lore knows how to read in different languages, but the fae just assume that all the humans are not very smart and certainly don't read more than one language. Lore is like, I can read and I can read other languages too. So I think they buy a book and go on their merry way. But later, Lore is basically captured by the fae because they want to exploit her. They need her in order to get into a magical library that only humans can go into. That is inside of the Fae Palace. And basically Lore has to go with them to she negotiated with them that, please keep the people in my village safe, and you also have to pay me X amount of wage to do this. Basically, so that when she's done with the project, she can improve her station in life a bit for her family and friends in the town. And the Fae agree to all of this. But as Lore learns more and more while she's in the library, she's learning more about how her people had magic. And she finds a book that she's supposed to give to them, but she doesn't. And her bodyguard, Asher, helps her escape. And the book is about the adventures and threats that they encounter with this escape. I will say with this book, I thought it was, and this is some more of a fantasy romance, because a lot of people think different things with romantasy and fantasy romance. I think with this book, regardless of what this publisher categorized it as, I think this book focused or spent a lot more time building the world, which was good, and also building the relationship between Asher and Lore as well. It's definitely a slow burn, because Lore has had only bad interactions with Fae, never anything positive, never. And so her rightful fear of the Fae causes this relationship to be such a slow burn. What I really liked about this book was that it had a very interesting twist at the end. And this is a part of a duology. Another book that I read that I started, was Mistborn by Sanderson. And I have tried to read the graphic audio or listen to the graphic audio versions of books on Hoopla before, but it always would get on my nerves a little bit to take in the graphic audio, and I saw in a few places where people were mentioning that the graphic audio for Mistborn is very, 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 very good. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So on Hoopla, Mistborn, all 7 books and a novella are actually in graphic audio. And so I was like, I'm going to try it, one more time. Mistborn is honestly just my human curiosity. It's like everyone, I haven't encountered anyone that, said they had a bad time with these books. And so I wanted to see what the big deal was, whether this was something that I would actually like as well. So, since I saw that I could, in fact, enjoy the graphic audio and it was available to borrow, in fact, all of the 7 books plus the novella were available to borrow, I decided to go ahead and borrow it. And the way that they have them divided up on Hoopla, which each of these books are, monster size, they have the graphic audios for the monster size books broken up into 3 parts. So it'll be, part 1 of 3, part 2 of 3, and then part 3 of 3. And they all have these different sort of graphic audio covers for them that look really cool. I versions there. But, it truly is a high-stakes fantasy book where there's certain people in the society who are in a slave class, basically, or they're made into slaves by this upper class group of people, and they're ruled by their god. And basically, their god in this world is a cruel one, because they will come out and kill members of the society who are slaves, or they're able to kill anyone with their magic. And the slaves in this society typically don't have magic. However, people in the royal and upper class society, some of them do. And since it is common in this world for men in the upper crust of society to take on a slave to abuse, sometimes there are children born out of that, and some of those children will have magic. Naturally, it is a rule in this society that when you take on a slave lover, you have to kill them in order to prevent this from happening, but that does not always happen. And so the main female character in this series is Vin, V-I-N, Vin. And Vin is a very special magical person. She is a Mistborn, which, regardless of whether you're in whatever class, a Mistborn has the highest sort of form of magic amongst the humans, and is the most admired for their magic. And you have another character, a male character, the main character. His name is Kelsier, and Kelsier takes in Vin almost like a daughter figure, and he is a Mistborn as well, and he takes her in and trains her in the way of being the best Mistborn, because he is very good. Now, what I like about Brandon Sanderson's characters are they're not perfect, and they're not imperfect perfection either. Kelsier made a grave mistake earlier in life where he was bold enough to sort of challenge the god in the society, and was captured and put into a horrible mine where he had to slave away, he and his wife, and it led to his wife's death. And imagine having to live with that great mistake for, your entire life. And so he has made it his goal to have an effective slave rebellion, because there have been slave rebellions in previous years, but they weren't successful. And so Kelsier, who is a mastermind of strategy and not only military but political, he basically gets a group of people together. Think if you've ever seen the movie Ocean's 11, where all of them have different specialties that they are the number one expert in, or the best expert that Kelsier could find. That is what Kelsier does. He pulls together the dream team of people that can hone their particular brand of magic, or hone their particular skill if they don't have magic, and play their parts in all of these different layers in society in order to make this slave rebellion successful or not. There are mistakes that are made in this story, and those are all out on the she had been living with thieves, basically, before this, and getting beat by those thieves because they knew that she was magical and they were jealous, and also because in the society, women are a subclass to men across the board, so they just figured they could beat her whenever she made a mistake. But because she had been treated in such a way, she didn't know anything about, she didn't know that she was even a Mistborn until Kelsier came along to give her sort of these tests and challenges to prove it. And then so they slide her into the place that she needs to be in order for this plan to work, and she basically is a really, really, really good spy. And she intertwines her ability to magic as well in these roles, and along with this group of people who have high levels of skills, and Kelsier is the mastermind. There are a lot of twists and turns. The stakes are high if you're trying to free up people in a society where they call this man, and it is a man, a god, because of the types of ways that he is able to hone magic, and also because of the way that he's built this society and sort of built certain creatures around him that are made to trust him. And it's just a really great book, taking you on that adventure leading up to the end where the rebellion happens or it doesn't. And it is not a standalone novel, as I alluded to in the beginning. There are other books as a part of this world. I think 7 or 8 books are in this world, like 7 books in a novella. And so, yes, you reach a satisfying ending at the end of this book if you want to just read the first one. I believe that you can, but curiosity has grasped me, and I cannot move forward in life without seeing what's going to happen in this book. If you see me looking over here, it's because I have notes. There are things I want to make sure that I share with you about my impressions of the book that I know if I just riff off the top, I won't be able to remember. I wish my memory was that good, but it's not. The magic system, I was mentioning that the magic system is a little bit layered. Like, there's like different types of magic, but then there's different types of people and skills that those people have that are able to hone this magic in different ways, okay? And so it is a little bit complicated to understand as you go along, as, whenever you're first introduced to them. But I think the best way, in order to really grasp it, is to, if you need to read something, you can read it again, but just go forward through the book and don't try to stop and understand it. That's what I tried to do. Failed. I wasted my time. Just go forward through the book, and as you're seeing the different types of people using these different types of magics differently, it'll make way more sense to you. By the end of the book, it'll make a lot more sense to you. And also, I've already started the Well of Ascension, Mistborn Book 2. Graphic audio, it actually is really good on the graphic audio. I gave the book 4.5 stars at this point. I do feel that whenever you have a long series of books, that sometimes your rating can change for different books as you move through the series, and of course after you complete the series as well. But I gave it 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. The last book that I want to tell you about is a book that I read on, I did a hybrid kind of thing. I listened to the audiobook on wanted to see what the big deal was. Not everybody, but I saw this book everywhere, and I'm like, what is this about? And then I found out it's about a woman trying to join the NASA space program, and honestly, I was sold. I am definitely one of those children of the 80s that, although it was, cool for little boys to say, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up, I was a little girl who had that in the back of my mind and absolutely adored science fiction and science at that time. And so I knew that, at the very least, that hopefully I would just get like a taste of that if I were to read this. Boy, oh boy, did I get a taste. I got more than a taste. I got my proper fill of tickling that scientific curiosity that I had as a little girl. It was totally renewed with this book. It's a story about a college science stars professor. Her studying was about studying the stars, and she was just moving about her life as normal, and her sister mentions that they are looking for women to apply to the NASA astronaut program or space program, and they were specifically looking for women to join it. It was, I think this is taking place in 1980, and, she thinks about it, she looks at the criteria, and she applies. And so she gets into this program, and the book is basically her journey, because you can be eliminated, you're a candidate for, a long amount of time before you're actually accepted, as an astronaut. You're not an astronaut when you first join the candidate program. And so this book actually shows the journey that she's taken on whenever she's moving through this candidacy program to become an astronaut. She is a socially awkward type of person, but everyone knows her as being honest, and she doesn't seem to be moved. She doesn't seem to have a huge ego at all. She has no ego, in my opinion, because she is so honest in her showing of feeling in most scenarios. This book has several different components of her life that it shows her. It shows her connection to her niece, who she deeply, deeply loves and cares for and spends a lot of her time with. It also explores the relationship she has with a very narcissistic family member who literally, even though her sister is trying to become an astronaut, she doesn't want to be inconvenienced at all due to that. Also, it shows the main character's name is Joan. It shows Joan, how she has to navigate interacting with people who are also in this program with her, and how the program is almost trying to, or just the pressure of the program is trying to have all of the people that are candidates working with her, trying to pit those people against each other in this scenario, because everybody wants to be the graduate who gets to space first, right? And only the best students are going to go up into space first. And so you have some of her peers in this program trying to sabotage Joan mentally, but since she is such a straightforward, honest, not egotistical person, they find it hard to do so in many figure, they'll just have to outperform her to get there. And to Joan's detriment, her own honesty with what she likes and dislikes in the program cause her to maybe not get chosen first for different things. You also have to see Joan navigate her sexuality as well, and the book actually is written in a way where you jump between the present and the future. I should have said that first, but it's kind of like, I know in movies it's called a frame story when you present the viewer with the end of the story first, and then you show them via flashbacks how you got to that ending. That is how this book is set up. You are given this very high stakes, very important thing that's happening, a very tragic thing that's happening right there at the beginning of the book. And then you do a flashback to see, how this what all led up to this. And so you're seeing a bit of the present and then flashing back to the past for a while, and then seeing a little bit more of the present happening, and then flashing back for a while to see how we got there. And that's happening throughout the book. Although I haven't typically liked books that are set up this way, I actually understand why Taylor Jenkins Reid set up Atmosphere in this way, because it grabs you from the beginning of the book, because you're dropped into this scenario that is extremely detailed and extremely tragic all at once, and you want to figure out and you want to know how you got there. And so having us just get a taste of that moving through the book while we see bigger chunks of the past that are leading up to this present is actually perfect for Atmosphere. Atmosphere is classified as an historical fiction, historical fiction, historical fiction, historical fiction. And it totally takes us on a journey. It's almost like a coming of age for Joan, except it's not a long period of time. It's short. It's about 4 years. We start in 1980 and we end in 1984, I believe. Beautiful book. You'll want to, you might get emotional reading this book, but I like the journey that books can take you on that help you or take you through a range of emotions while you're still physically grounded in your reality. I love that. I gave Atmosphere 5 stars. I absolutely love it. Nice. And although I read it on Libby, this will be a book I will purchase, because with the very few things that I might think of as a top read, a 5-star read, I'll want to read it again. And Atmosphere is one of those books that I know I will read again and again over my lifetime. It's a great book. Great book. Great book. And after I finished reading this book, I found myself looking up things about the NASA program and looking up things about space and science and spaceships and astronauts' uniforms. It awakened a curiosity about operations in my world at this time, and that's a special feeling too. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So, The Innkeeper